Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions to Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions to Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions to Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions to Images. Hello, everybody. Today I have on John Pribonic, the mayor of Stow in Ohio, and I'm super excited. He is one of the best mayors around. I have to say, he's very involved. He's very out there and cares about the community and cares about the people for sure. So I'm excited to have him on.
Well, thanks for having me, Susie. I really do appreciate that. It's a great thing. I know I've met you once actually in person, but follow you on Facebook and all the different journeys you're on, and also to the journeys with your son. And I think that's really neat. A mom, independent person, and like I said, I just love watching your journey as you go along. So it's very interesting, and that's one of the interesting points about the city of Stow. We're 35,000 people, so that allows us to do a lot of things, but it allows us also that personal connection. So that's the good part about living in Stow, I guess.
Yes, I love it. And I love that you guys always have so many different events going on now. Granted, COVID has kind of put a damper on a lot of that in-person stuff, but you've been able to adapt and pivot on so much. I mean, we did that Christmas drive-through and my son loved that. We did the Valentine's Day box. I mean, there's just so much stuff that we're still trying to be involved with. And my son, you know, he's growing and he likes all of the different things. So it's fun to see how he reacts to things as they're changing as well. Yeah. So I appreciate all of that as a community.
Sure.
So tell me how you even got started as the mayor. Tell me about your story.
Sure. Okay. I wish I could have a better story, more exciting story, but actually worked for Acme, which is a local grocer here in Akron area. Mm-hmm. Worked for them slightly for over 40 years. As far as I was concerned, I ended up in management for most of my career, which has really lended itself really good as far as being a mayor. Instead of actually solving problems in a store, I solve problems here in the city, and that has really equipped me well with that. On the side, though, at the same time, while I was also working for Acme, I was 6 years on the Stow-Munroe Falls School Board. Then decided to take that bigger leap and go into city council, where I was a ward councilman for 4 years. And then I was a council at large for 7 years. So it's been about 20 years between, I've been sitting in this position for about a little bit over 2 years now. So about 20 years in government. And it's all been Stow government. It's been a great thing also too. I grew up in Cog Falls, of course, which is just kind of, south
it's not
west of us,
right?
And like I said, so I grew up there, so stayed in the area, so I really kind of understand the area, and that's really helped out too.
What made you make that decision?
You know, the thing was, I can't say, and I started off this way even when I was running for school board. I can tell you, and I've lived by that, it has never been agenda driven. Okay, people a lot of times, and I think that's not a good way. That's my firm belief, is it's not a good way to have to start off something with an agenda. Mm-hmm. I guess if I was going to say what was my agenda, and people have asked me that, was to go ahead and make that positive impact on our community. It's no secret, every day we get older, and I always look at it saying, okay, I had a very fulfilling career in the grocery business. I enjoy people. And it was one of those type of things, when I'm gone, I hope that I can go ahead and people can say that I left a great mark actually on this city and actually touch people's lives to actually help them. So I know that sounds very cliche, but I think that that's, at the end of the day, I think we recognize that even more, I think, all of us in 2020. What personal touch and personal connection was very important.
Totally. I love it. And I know that, I mean, I see you so involved on social media in every way possible, especially like in Facebook groups. Like if people need stuff, you're always on top of it. So, and building those personal connections and being able to really help them is what you're doing the most, for sure. So I love.
Well, like I said, and it is great. And mostly I'll go back to that 2020. I think that is so great. In fact, it's kind of been joked. I was at, we have, of course, you're aware of a program that we have Bulldog Bags here in Stow for kids that are, say, food deprived to a certain extent, that bags go out twice a month. And they're packed here at City Hall, a whole different organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been going on for about 5 years. But where I'm going with this was, I had one of the volunteers laughing, and it's kind of become a joke on Facebook, and that's okay. You'll see it on there. Whenever something happens in the city, they go, well, did you contact the mayor? Okay, so there is it can be but it's important. It can be something as simple as, there was a dead animal laying on the road, or it could be something as serious as what's going on. We see all these police cars and all that kind of stuff. So I have found, though, that Facebook medium has really been a tremendous platform for me to be able to communicate with the public. So where she was going with this was, then the lady said to me, she was teasing with another mother. She said, the other night my child had a fever and I was going to go ahead and reach out to the mayor and said, should I use Advil or Tylenol? But the point is I think in order to be successful, and again, I'll go back to that grocery experience.
Mm-hmm.
I never had the job that I could actually put my job on a voicemail. Okay. If I was in a store, or I was managing up higher, I was able to be reached just right then and there. So it's one of those type of things that I always look at, saying, if I can respond to something, and we're all like that, if I can respond quickly, I might not have an answer, but I'll get you one. Absolutely. That puts out a fire, because the worst thing you can do with people is they have an issue that they feel is very important, and it kind of manifests if you don't address it. So as weird as that sounds, I get most of my communication both one way and two way with instant message and whatever, that people will, and it's easy for me to respond. So it's kind of a joke, but it's really worked out good.
No, I think it's worked out good. And as like being in the social media field every day, it's important, no matter how you look at the social media is amazing tool for everybody, not just business, personal, professional, everything. So it's great that we are able to utilize that and have that capability, especially with the mayor. I mean, that's just amazing. So,
well, I think also too, we keep pivoting back. I know I keep pivoting back on that. We did realize the importance of this in 2020. Mm-hmm. When, like I said, we're all ready to get back, and that will be a great thing to get back, to hug our family and different things like that. But if we think back, 20, 30 years ago and so forth, what would have 2020 looked like if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have the internet? And again, there's always positive, minus to everything, but what would have 2020? It would have been devastating.
Oh my goodness, it would have been a whole different world.
Right. So there's a place for everything. And like I said, we were fortunate that we were, we're on Zoom today. And
exactly. I was just going to say that even the video conferencing is so important these days to keep up with relationships. Absolutely.
And I did not know, I'm sure many did, and it did exist. I didn't even know what Zoom was a year ago. Right. Okay. So, I mean, the whole point is, there's some good pieces out there that we learn from.
Hey, let's stop for just 1 second during this podcast episode. I know you're so excited to get back and listen, but I wanted to chat with you and talk about how we really work with businesses. What we really do is we dive in and we ask so many questions. We go through a series of questionnaires and extensive research to really help you get a clear, identifiable plan of action that needs to happen for your business. If you want to hear more about this, go to visions2images.com, click the contact us button, and we will be happy to set up a time to chat more. It's amazing. I love it. So tell me, I know there's so much great stuff happening in Stow. What is something positive and exciting happening in Stow that you want to share?
Sure. Well, let's see. Coming up again, it's been a turn, and I'll keep pivoting, and we probably will keep doing this through 2021 of how our events are going to look. We are actually going to have, and again, last year we said, okay, and this kind of is humorous in the fact that last year we were going to, this was 2 weeks before, right now was 2 weeks before Easter, we were going to have our Easter egg hunt. And we said, okay, fine, that's the case. And I remember Linda Narstad, who is our Park and Rec director, said, what are we going to do? And I said, give it 2 weeks and we're going to be fine and we'll be fine. So just postpone it 2 weeks. And we all know what we can all see now what was wrong. I was wrong. So we had an Easter Bunny parade. This year here, we're pivoting a little bit different. Again, we're able to do some more things. We are actually going to have an Easter egg hunt, just not like what we had at the high school the first year, but kids are going to be able to go ahead to different stations, get candy, pick up eggs. There's going to be prizes in some of those eggs. They're going to be able to search the eggs, but it's going to be socially distanced. So that's a big one. One that really hasn't broken, and I'll give you the ability to break it actually here on your thing today. In Stow, June 26th is going to be a very big day. We are actually going to actually have an event here at City Center. Since we're able to actually open this up a little bit, we're going to have a giant touch a truck, because I don't think people even realize how many trucks and so forth. So for all those kids out there, like I said, taking nothing away from our library, which we work very closely with, but this would be like a touch a truck on steroids, I guess is how I would put it. We're also going to have many events that's going to tie in our local businesses. We're going to have demonstrations like with yoga, and we're going to have demonstrations. We have a lady here in Stow that does drum fit.
Yes,
those type of things, Kelly. And just a lot of different things that kids can participate in. We have an arts commission that's very involved, and that name arts commission is a little bit misleading, but we're going to go ahead and have people do a certain piece of a wall to where we can, recognize Stow, but just an all-out day to where people can at least start getting around each other, socially distanced, of course. And I'm sure you've seen it. I know you have. We've had, with great success, our Monday Meals program here in Stow, to where our local restaurants, for anybody that isn't aware, and it's a great thing. I'll never condemn another business, but people have to understand when they order with Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of that, that restaurant covers about 30%. That's the fee. So if you're looking at a $10 order, they're paying $3 to go ahead and do that. Now, that's been a great thing because it's also helped keep our restaurants afloat. But what we did is we stepped it up a little bit, and we said, okay, fine. On Mondays, we're going to rotate 2 restaurants a week, and we're going to go ahead and deliver for you restaurants. But who are the delivery people? The delivery people are actually our local clubs and organizations, such as sports, band parents, different things like that. Where that benefits these people is that they go ahead and get the tips. The restaurant gets the full proceeds. It also helps the restaurant business.
Absolutely.
So it works. We are going to continue somewhat that concept on that day, June 26th, to where you're going to be able to order that food standing here at City Hall, and say that you want Chinese and your son wants pizza. You're going to be able to have both. You're going to both be able to have it hot, and you're going to both be able to sit down and have a picnic with the foods that you like.
That's awesome. I love it.
So that's going to all tie that in. So we're putting that program together right now. So like I said, it's another program. And again, I'll pivot back to 2020. We're being made just like everybody else to think outside the box.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that's what a lot of, we had to, right? We had to think outside the box and change and adapt.
Well, I can tell you a year ago, I was freaking out. A year ago, it was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? When I found out afterwards that I was wrong with the 2 weeks with Easter, after I found that out, I go, oh God, we're in trouble, because we do not the same programs. We add, we take away if they're not popular, but we do the same things, how we've always done it.
Totally.
And this really allowed us to go ahead and come up with some great things.
I know you did like the Christmas stuff, like we talked about, and the 4th of July and the Memorial Day. I think you changed that to the drive-by stuff. Yeah. So you had to like change all these things, and it was probably very overwhelming and different, but you were able to overcome it and adapt it and still make the community and people feel like they're a part of it. Because I mean, everything is so, Christmas and holidays are so huge and important for people, period. And we don't want to lose all of that. So adapting and changing like you did was amazing.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point, and it's still going on, and we're still going to see ramifications through 2021. Mm-hmm. We have also too, if you see out on the front of our front of city building, we have a program called You Matter, and that really, it ties into mental health awareness. And that isn't something that is unique to just Stow. That's clear across the country, but it's our own initiative to where we want to have people feel comfortable to talk about mental health and work through these things, because this has been totally different for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you are a child going to school or going to school a different way, or it is a senior that's almost 100 years old. It doesn't matter. Your life has been totally affected.
Absolutely.
So we have done a lot of programs with that, from, like special postcards that we're sending out to people, just checking on them and things like that. So it's been totally different. And again, no, we need to keep that in the back of our mind, what this year of some seclusion actually did to us.
Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, I just seen it. You were referring earlier on Facebook about Facebook, and I read something this morning. So that you'll find hard to believe it was profound on Facebook, but I looked at it and said, "Wow, don't worry about what your kids lost in learning from school. Okay, how 20 years will look and say, how did we cope?" And I think that's going to be the bottom line. Nobody is ever going to go and say, Johnny was behind, 6 months or whatever the case is. How did we end up coping out of 2020? Absolutely. And I think that's going to be one of those, and I go, wow, I didn't think about that. So I think that's a very interesting idea.
Totally. 100%. I love that. So my last question for you is, if you could give anybody any advice, what advice would you give them?
I would say, and this is interesting because this is one of the questions that many times that I have the luxury of being able to speak to Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. And I think it's one of those type of things, and again, not sounding cliche, is always be a person of your word. I think that's the biggest thing. And like I said, you can't go wrong by doing that. But like I said, I think it's one of those things, always be a person of your word and live by that. It's easy to say it, but it's harder to do it. And I'm not saying that I don't struggle with that sometimes. Right. That's a hard thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of the great stuff. It was great to catch up with you. And we will share this with everybody. And thanks for all that you do for the community.
Thank you, Susie. Anytime. It was great seeing you.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening in on this episode today. Please make sure to check out the links from your guest and Visions to Images to learn more about each other. It takes a village, as you know, so connect and grow with one another together. Thank you so much for listening.